that song is very important for us because it talks about how love contains it all. It contains the yin and the yang, the action and the release, the detachment and the engagement. And being fully engaged but fully detached, fully surrendered but fully involved is a balancing act that we all have to do. And detachment is an art. Detachment is something that it takes a lifetime to learn, probably several lifetimes, but it's a constant opportunity. Every day contains opportunities for us to learn how to detach without shutting down. You know, detachment is not burying your head in the sand or pretending like things aren't happening. Also, detachment is not reacting out of anger or fear or some kind of inner impulse. Detachment is a sense of being whole in love. Last night, a bunch of my minister friends got online and started sending out an SOS in a group, reply all. What are you going to say tomorrow about the shootings? How are you going to address this? And everybody was giving their 2 cents worth, and I thought to myself, I'm going to be talking about detachment. Well, how is that going to fit in? Detachment. And then I thought about Dr. King and how he never said one hateful thing toward a single one of his enemies, no matter what they did to him, but he constantly came back to and repeatedly moved back into his heart and into love, but forcefully and dynamically. And he often said, as did Mahatma Gandhi, who was really his mentor in many ways, that when he came from that love space, that heart space, that he would sometimes act when other people told him, no, don't do anything here, pull back, this isn't wise. Other times, everybody would expect him to take some firm action and he would do nothing. And he said, and I would criticize myself in my head. What am I doing here? Why am I not acting? Why am I acting? But he said every time when I operated from this inner knowing, it all worked out so much better. Sometimes the fastest way to get from A to B is through X, Q, Z, and R. And if you don't surrender in detachment, you're not going to know that. And he said that things would work out with a whole bunch of hidden advantages that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But how do we learn this? You're sitting there saying, okay, I've got a problem in my life. I would like to deal with it with detachment, but how do I do that? I mean, everything in my life, I feel like I'm kind of stuck in my life. Well, this I stole from my son. This is a chess piece. And I asked him last night, I said, Jason, do your chess pieces have felt on the bottom? And he said, yes. I said, oh, good, because I can use them as visual aids. Because I was going through a really tough time one time, and I was feeling very tied up in a situation. I was feeling like I wanted to take revenge, and it was very strong. And a friend of mine said to me, why don't you negotiate with that little part of yourself, the little Greg in you that wants to lash out? And I said, yeah. So I said, little Greg? He said, yeah. I said, little Greg, what do you want right now? What do you need? I want to take revenge. Ooh. Well, what if you knew that revenge would just make things worse? Would you want to do it then? No. Well, what if you knew if you didn't take revenge that it would be better? What would you do then? I wouldn't do it. Okay, and I felt a whoosh, and it just lifted from me. It's that willingness to negotiate with that little part of yourself that wants to get involved in a contentious way. And yet, there's a way to be involved, but it's a way that comes from a higher desire, not a vengeful desire. In that particular situation, I remember I had a dream. Actually, it was that night. And in the dream, I was on a carousel where the horses were going up and down, and I was on one, and it was a brass ring. Remember those brass rings, and you have to reach out for it, and you get a prize. And just before I was ready to get the brass ring, there was a commotion behind me. I turned around, and I missed the brass ring, and what I got was, if you're worried about this, you're not going to get your brass ring, the good that's coming for you. You've got to focus on your brass ring, not this. does that mean? What does that mean in terms of our lives, in terms of the situations and the circumstances in life? It means that we engage, but not from a contentious place of wanting to lash out, but rather from a place of wholeness and love. So that our actions come from a deeper, richer awareness and get better results. Many of you are Harry Potter fans. How many Harry Potter fans are out there? And not too many. Well, many of you know about, there's this particular serum that he won in one of the contests. I believe it was Felix Felicius or something like that. And it was a good luck serum. And it was given to him because he won some contest or did something. And he had one dose. And if he drank it, he would have good luck for the entire day. And everything would work out his way. But he saved it up. I mean, if you know the Harry Potter series, he needed that good luck. And he wanted to save it up. And finally the day came where it was just really bad. So he drank the good luck syrup. And they had a time problem. They really had a deadline. So everybody said, "Hey, we got to go do this." He said, "No, I just want to go down and hang out with Hagrid." Hagrid, who was his friend, hang out with Hagrid? You don't have time to do that. So, but he's, no, I'm going to do it. So he went down, hung out with Hagrid, and then he overheard something. It was exactly what he needed, and it led to this, and it led to that. And it was the felt on the chess piece. Later on, he found out that they actually had exchanged his good luck serum for water, and it was all in his consciousness. Later on, he used the good luck serum for another time. But it was, how did he do that? How did he know what to do? Why to go X, Y, and Z instead of just to be? Love must love. There's that in you that needs to know, that already knows, and will give you those answers, but you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing, and that's the first step, to know that there is that in you, that if you just surrender to it, will give you the guidance you need to have to do what you need to do. God, I am your chess piece, move me where you will. Together. God, I am your chess piece, move me where you will. The master, a chess master, knows all these moves, and I don't know much about chess, but you know, it'll all work out if you let it. If you realize it, it's not you personally that's moving the chess piece. It's not your personality self. It's that higher self, the Christ in you, the inner self that knows. I had a little experience of this with Jason, and I've asked Jason many times, is it okay to talk about things? And he's a spiritual student and meditates and does these things, and he says, "Hey, Dad, if it helps somebody, go ahead." So he's not your typical preacher's kid, right? So he was fine with me telling you this. So we got this change in the schedule. Next year he's got to pick a school. He's a junior in high school. He's going to have to pick his college. And he's doing his research. He's doing his due diligence. But of course it wasn't really very clear. And all of a sudden a day opened up, which wasn't expected. And I said, "Well, why don't we go someplace?" And so I said, "Why don't you ask your music teacher?" He has a teacher that teaches him composition and arrangement. He's a composer and arranger, and he said he was on 3 university faculties, 3 universities. And I said, "Ask him which one you should go visit." So he did, and he said, "NIU, Northern Illinois." Well, I would never have picked that. You know, NIU, I don't know, it's on the farm town or something. I don't know. So forgive me, okay? I didn't know any better, right? So he contacts them, and they tell him that the music department's all going to be locked up tight. It's the day of the auditions for next year's incoming class, and nobody's going to be available to talk to him. But if he wants to walk around the building, he can. However, there still are the tours of the whole campus if you want to come out here. So we go out there, we have the tour. He falls in love with the place. I mean, all you can eat food in the cafeterias until 10 o'clock at night. I mean, the place was amazing. Everything's free. It's wonderful. Well, not for, but it's almost free. You pay once. It's a great place. And then he says, "Let's go over to that music department." Okay, let's go to the music department. And we go there, we're walking down, and I said, "Let's go down here, let's find the main office." And I found what I thought was the main office. Turns out it wasn't the main office at all. It was the Office of Outreach in the community. It had nothing to do with what we wanted. But I didn't know that. I said, "Hey, why don't you go introduce yourself?" He goes, "Well," and he goes, "Okay," because he asked. He asked, and he just had a good feeling about it. So we went inside, drank his good luck serum, went inside, and he met a woman, and told her what he was there for, and she explained to him what her job was. It had nothing to do with incoming freshmen, but here, why don't I introduce you to this guy? he was a graduate student who played trombone. Turned out to be a student of his composition and arranging teacher, a private student. Because they had a connection, he said, why don't you come and jam with us? He sat in on a 2-hour jam session with graduate students, and here he is a junior in high school, and he held his own. I mean, and he made all these connections, and then the director of admissions for that school had said, I won't have time for you, etc., etc. But because she saw all these guys standing around, this woman walks up and starts talking and sees Jason, doesn't know him, introduces herself. It's the director of admissions, and she has 15 minutes to give him the time. He gets all the information he needs. They tell him, if you come here, you can go out in the community. We'll pay you well to teach children. We got all these things. I mean, the whole thing was lined up. Now, he's going to go and look at other schools or whatever, but I mean, think about that. Now, I'm telling you this because it's like, okay, how many times in your life do you have a problem in your life and you think, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. It looks like it can't be solved. How many people had a problem that just looked like it could never be solved, could never be solved? And how many of you have had one that was solved? And the thing is that you got to remember, here I am, I'm a professional. Kids don't do this at home. I'm paid to tell you about all this stuff, and I forget every single time. When I'm faced with one of those things, I go, oh man, what am I going to do? And then, oh, I know what I got to do. And today I'm going to share with you some of the tools that I have to pull out of my toolbox that I always forget to do until it gets uncomfortable enough and finally I do it. And so one of the tools is that wonderful spiritual thermometer and lifting up above the level of the problem into the solution. Now, right outside of Fellowship Hall, we got all these sheets of paper. I'm going to bury in paper today. Take them home. You probably picked them up a million times and you lost them. So pick up another one, and you can then lift yourself up into that higher possibility where you get the guidance, where you drink the truth serum and or the good luck serum, and what you're going to do. And in the words of Kenny Rogers, you know when to hold them, when to fold them. You know what you need to do. And this was what happened. Something interesting happened, though, to me. Because we got home, and all these good things happened, and it was such a magical day, and he was flying, and I felt weird. I just felt weird, I didn't know why. And I've been doing something with meditation group, taking Jane Hart's book, Spiritual Power Tools, asking for guidance and putting my finger down, and it came down on journaling. Journaling? I don't need to journal anything. I mean, I journal, but I don't need to do that. So I started writing, and it all came out. It had to do with the fact that in a year and a half, my son is going to be going off to college. And most likely, I'm not going to be right there with him. And it brought up all my, empty nest and kid leaving, and oh my gosh, and I didn't have any consciousness of it at all. So I realized it's time to journal. So I took, and here's another piece of paper, the 7 steps. These are the journaling for the 7 steps, and we also have a copy of the article that Jane Hart wrote for Unity Magazine, and they're both out there right outside of Fellowship. Read that, and the beauty of this is I just answer the questions. I just answered the questions, and it came up all my feelings. I could release them. I could let them go. The time for discretion is when in your thinking and your actions, not your feelings. Let your feelings be what they are. We want to process things and go through these things looking really good, but you know what? The only way out is through, and you're never going to look good. You're just going to look good enough. It's all good enough. Together? It's all good enough. You just have to go through the process, and it'll be fine if you do this work. So I did this work, and then I listened to Jane Hart's 7-step meditation. I took my son up 7 steps. I felt so good, and then another rush came up, and I suddenly realized, oh, my daughter's got to get an apartment. She's in New York City. She just got a new job. I've been worried about her. I've been thinking about her. And I realized I've got to do the whole thing again. So I wrote it out. So during the time I was supposed to work on this talk, I was doing this work. But was I really working on this talk? I think so. Because I was doing it. I mean, rather than talking to you about it, I was doing it. And that was even more powerful. There were some hidden things, some deep things that came up. I'm telling you this because it's detaching, letting go, and taking, what kind of chess game would you have if this was Velcro? Where would it go? But we live our lives like that. It's like Spirit, God is trying to, and we're going, Have you ever, everybody together, that's not even fun to do. Let's not even do that. But I'm a chess piece on your board, move me God. Together, I'm a chess piece on your board, move me God. Let me read you this wonderful poem by a friend of mine, Detaching from the Problem, Not the Person. This is what let go and let God means to me. When we realize we're not responsible for the behavior of others or how they want to run their own lives, we quit worrying about them. And once we get that into our heads, we can start helping ourselves. We can help others by loving them and praying for them, that's all. We can love others without trying to run their lives. Everyone has the right to be free. Possessiveness is not love. We have no right to tell others how to live. And because we love, we let go, standing by if we're needed or ask for help. And part of this is that we got to let go of trying to please other people as well. And doing that which is for our highest good, and maybe for their highest good, though they don't know it. This is what Paul said in Galatians. Am I seeking approval from other people, or am I seeking approval from God? If I was still a people pleaser, I couldn't serve God. So being able to move with that energy and let that go, that need to look good, that need to people please, that need to controlling outcomes, controlling other people. Detachment is the key. And detachment is what most of us are missing in love. You know, we're all real good at the action. A lot of us aren't, but many of us are good at taking the action. And now it's sometimes important for us to know when it's ours to just hold in the heart and detaching from the problem, not the person. A school that we had, there was in our church, there was a peacemaking curriculum. And in the peacemaking curriculum, they talked about attack the problem, not the person. And they taught the kids skills in this, learning how to not get involved. You know, we talked after the service, several of us, about how you deal with people coming up to you and trying to tell you what to think or what to do in terms of politics or world affairs. And the thing to do is to move out of that whole consciousness, because you aren't going to convince anybody, because people are going to believe what they're going to believe anyway. And then take the actions that are truly yours to take, so that you use your energy in a very powerful and targeted way. So that doesn't mean you don't take action. It just means you don't get into needless and useless arguments. But you don't put people out of your heart. You just distance yourself enough to do what you need to do. Edwene Gaines. How many of you know who Edwene Gaines is? Wonderful Unity minister. Said, a task for this day is, how can I make sure that I haven't put anyone outside of my heart today? Here's our task, she writes. Every night before we go to sleep, we ask ourselves this powerful question. Have I put anyone outside of my heart today? And if we found that we have, then gently we invite that person into our heart space. We do our inner work to see just exactly what our reason was for excluding this one from our compassion. And what we'll find is they did not do things our way. They did not conform to our standards of how they should do things. They did not allow us to be the supreme commander of the universe. And so we label them and toss them away. It's just a little tiny control issue, this need to have everyone please us or else. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about martyrdom, putting up with abuse, or being a doormat. You can love some people in situations from a distance. This is not about suffering. But here's an affirmation you can hang on to in time of out-of-control issues. The love in me embraces all people and all situations. I have an understanding heart. The love in me embraces all people and all situations. I have an understanding heart. We have to understand this and temper it from the standpoint that we can, as my good friend and mentor Dr. Mary Allen used to say, you back away as far as you need to in order to love, where it's safe. And you do that which is for your highest good and their highest good in that way as well. Wayne Dyer talked about this one time. He was in first class and they taxied back to the gate after being on the runway and said that there would be a 2-hour delay. And he watched people get very upset and really start to give a very hard time to the flight attendant. And he said to the flight attendant, after watching the masterful way that she handled this, and how everybody, because she was so neutral and so calm, not shut down, but not involved with their emotions either, that everyone pretty much calmed down. And he asked her, you know, I do this for a living. I teach this stuff, and I don't think I could have begun to do what you did. How did you do that? And she said, oh, well, when people come to me, if they're not coming in love, I give them the packaging. And he said, the packaging, what's that? She said, well, you are not your body, right? He said, well, yeah. Well, I just give them my body. And they don't get that precious part of me that I reserve for people who are coming in love. But that doesn't mean that I'm not kind or gentle with them. And he said, wow, sometimes people can get pretty rough with you, huh? She says, oh yes, and when that happens, I don't even give them the packaging, I give them the uniform. And he said he learned from that. So being able to detach, to disengage and disentangle. One time I just got so strongly, detach, disengage, disentangle. I detach, I disengage, I disentangle. Together? I detach, I disengage, I disentangle. And then I knew in that situation how to love and what to do in love. And then I was able to be flexible because I wasn't all caught up in it. But we have to be willing to let ourselves feel what we're feeling. Jane Hart, my meditation teacher, told us early on that when we're in a state of upset and emotion, she said one of the best things you can do is go out to your car, roll up the windows, and scream and yell all the 4-letter words and things that you possibly can as loud as you possibly can. And when you open the door, you're going to feel a lot better. Yeah. And the reason why is because you've let it go. And you know, I had one situation, this is about 15, 20 years ago, and it was really rough, and I felt totally stuck, and I didn't have some of these tools in those days. And so first thing I always would do was walk around the block and do my affirmations, and I felt a little better, but I was still kind of stuck. So I went out to my car in the parking lot, made sure nobody's looking, and I did that, and I still had that. So then I thought, you know, I'm in my car anyway, I'm going to drive to my favorite place to hike, my favorite hiking park, which was about 5 miles away. So I drove there, and I got out, and it's nature, and it's beautiful, and I'm hearing the loud talk radio guy blasting from a van, a big van that had those gigantic speakers propped up so that the guy a block away, I'm not exaggerating, could hear every word in nature while he was teeing up golf balls and hitting them. You know? How many people have heard me tell this story already? Yeah, a few of you. Okay, forgive me. But so he's doing this thing. He's hitting these golf balls. And I'm walking up to him and I'm so mad. I said, how dare you? This is in nature. It's a sacred place. Da, 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 da. And he looks at me and says, oh, really? And he puts down another golf ball and he hits it. And I look over and there's a playground over there right where he's hitting the golf balls. There aren't any kids there, but I'm still very offended. And so I said, there's a playground over there and you're doing this. Oh, yeah? Well, what are you going to do about it? And he hits the golf ball, and I realize I'm trying to reason with a man who's probably not balanced, who's holding a weapon. So I realized, I just said, well, I'm going to call the park ranger. He said, you do that. He put down the ball, and I went and I got on my thing, and I found out the park ranger, and they didn't care about it one bit and didn't do a thing. And I was mad at the park ranger. I didn't give them a hard time. I just got off the phone. And I'm fuming, and I'm realizing, wait a minute. I feel so much better now. I feel so good. And I saw that guy about 2 years later, and I didn't go up to him for sure, but there he was. He wasn't playing golf, but I went, yeah, thank you. Because you know what? When you really want to let stuff go, you get a chance to let stuff go. And in his case, now you say, well, what about, that wasn't fair to him. No, he was impervious. I didn't hurt him one bit, but it was good. So the point is that you lift up out of the negative emotions. You get real. The place of discretion is in your thoughts and feelings, but if you don't let yourself feel what you're feeling, you're not vitally alive. And yet, you don't make it anyone else's problem. And I know my story sounds like it did, but it had a different point to it, because in that situation, this guy, it didn't hurt him one bit. But in this situation, I'm trying to share that we've got our personal lives, we've got our world affairs, we've got all these different situations that we're all dealing with, and the question is, how do we navigate in love? And we've got to have different tools in our toolbox to do it. And so I know that you've all heard many of these different tools, but try them out. And I've had such a wonderful, uplifting experience. Last night doing my 7 steps, I feel so much better. And my affirmation was thank you, God, for a divine idea. Together, Thank you, God, for a divine idea. Thank you, God, for the divine solution for this perfect problem. Together, thank you, God, for the divine solution for this perfect problem. So I want you to just take whatever it is and silently affirm, I lift this up into its highest possibility. I lift this up and I loose it and I let it go. I fully and freely release it. All that's happened is complete and whole. I free all others to their highest good. I free myself to my highest good. And now I am a chess piece on the chessboard of God. God, move me where you will. I let go of my Velcro and I replace it with felt. I replace it with Teflon. And I am smooth and slick and open. And I can be moved where I need to be moved. Thank you, God. And so it is. Take a deep breath and let it out. And move into this now moment. Setting aside all the papers in your hands. And opening your heart. And as you let go into the now, take this as your affirmation. This is one I've been using since my retreat in October. And it goes, I lighten up. I let go, and I move in the now. I lighten up, I let go, and I move in the now. Together, I lighten up, I let go, and I move in the now. Silently. And again aloud together. I lighten up. I let go, and I move into the now. And feel yourself deepening as you move into the now moment. Deepening your heart. Deepening in the rich feeling of contentment, satisfaction, of your deep, courageous heart. And as you lighten up, you lift up above the circumstances that have been your experience in your life, and you actually feel yourself rising above, lifting up above those circumstances and even looking down on them from a high height where the air is spacious and clear, where you're suspended in that higher place where the answer and the question are one. Where there are no problems, only dancing lessons from God. Where there are no problems, only results. And silently, from this higher place, we affirm, thank you, God, for a divine idea. Thank you, God, that as I lift this and everything, and I am lifted up into my highest possibility, I am grateful for my divine revelations. I know that there is that in me that knows what to do, where to go, when to act and when not to act. I lighten up, I let go, and I move in the now. And I lift up above every and all circumstance and problem, saying, thank you, God, for the divine solution to every perfect problem. I move into that place within my being where I give God room to move. I let go into the now, and I say silently, God, I am your chess piece. Move me where you will. And I remember that under every chess piece, there's not Velcro, there's felt. We moved easily. And if the fastest way to get from point A to B is through points Q, X, and R, I am willing to move where I need to move. I am here to learn and to grow and to know. And I detach from all results. I only see them as outcomes. And I trust as I let go in the now that my highest good is working out for me, and I'm being led where I need to be led, and I'm moving where I need to be moved. And all is well. And in a moment of letting go, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you in silence, with gratitude in my heart. Thank you, and thank you. My loving heart, my divine self, my inner spirit knows. And I move in the now, and I lighten up, and I let go, and I move forward into my life with a great sense of confidence and enthusiasm, knowing that what I need to do is clear to me. What I need to let go of is clear to me. I'm guided where I need to go. Thank you, God. And so it is. So, our offering today, our offering statement is, I let go and give and receive abundantly. Together? I let go and give and receive abundantly. And silently. And again aloud together. I let go and give and receive abundantly. And so it is. Amen.